Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another special information session by Azim Premji University on our master's programs. Today we have with us faculty member Cade, who will be taking us through the various aspects of the M.A.Economics program. The aspects that she would be touching upon are the core courses, the electives, the field component, and also more details about the difference between the internship track and the thesis track. And a little bit also about the kind of future that awaits our students who graduate from this program. Now, before I hand it over to Cade, a quick introduction about the university. The Azim Premji University was operational from 2011 based on the Azim Premji University Act of 2010. It is recognized under Section 2F by the UGC, and it is started as a fully philanthropic, not-for-profit university. Its stated mission has a clear social purpose, and we believe in social change through education. Now, what is the objective of social change through education? We believe our graduates should go on to contribute to a more just, equitable, humane, and sustainable society, and not just uphold the values in our Constitution, but further it if they could, in a better direction. So without further ado, Cade, it's all yours.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. It's delightful to be here today. I am Cade Finoff. I am in the economics group at the School of Arts and Sciences at Azim Premji University. And I agreed today to give an information session on our Masters in Economics, which is one of our newer programs at the university that we're very proud about. It closely aligns with the mission statement of the university that Sanjeev just was alluding to. And I'm going to upload a PowerPoint presentation to just go through this brief overview of our program today. Okay, can you see the PowerPoint? All right. Sanjeev, if they can't see the PowerPoint, can you just upload it for us? So our rationale was to develop a program at the university to develop the next generation of students equipped with both the theoretical knowledge from economics, but also the technical and the analytical skills that we think could really help the development sector address pressing social issues of the day. It is, next slide, please. Our program is grounded in the institutional development and ecological context of contemporary India, which is very unique. It's one of the unique features of our program because most economics and most masters in economics programs have an entry point of economic theory. The economics group at our university decided that we wanted to develop a master's program that was different, that drew upon the expertise in development, policy, governance, and education already present at the university, but also in the unique faculty interests and research specializations that we have, where most faculty at the university are engaged in the real world, addressing these some of these pressing developmental issues. Next slide, please. So our program is built on a foundation of looking at developing a broad range of skills for economists. Most programs focus heavily on quantitative skill building. And while we also have that as part of our program and we value it and think it's very important, we also incorporate some other aspects that you wouldn't find in every Master's in Economics program. And part of this speaks to the fact that we've developed our Master's in Economics with a specialization in development and policy. So we want students by the end of the program to have a solid understanding of the Indian economy. Again, this is very unusual because most economics is taught using textbooks where advanced industrialized capitalist economies are placed central in terms of the analytical entry point. But for our program, we put the Indian economy and issues facing the Indian economy up front and central. We don't neglect economic theory, but we don't have it as our entry point. We have real issues, contemporary events like the farmer protests from Haryana or land redistribution in India, and we put that up front and center, and then we bring in economic theory to try to deepen our analytical expertise, but also the insights into what we're seeing in the real world. We focus on developing a range of economic tools of analysis. As I said, we do build the traditional quantitative skills in economics, but we also integrate qualitative skills, which is very unusual in an economics program. And we also place value on getting students out of the classroom. We have field practice, we have internships built into the programmatic design, which is also very unusual for an economics program, but we think it's very important for students to be seeing how people in the real world are trying to address these issues, and also how can they be an economist and be thinking and engaging and using their skill sets in this way. Next slide, please. Okay, we're gonna take a break from my short presentation and watch a short video that we've just developed at the university, which highlights some of the faculty interests and expertise, but also the uniqueness of our program.
Interactions that the students have with the faculty members. The M.A. in Economics program at Azim Premji University is unique in two ways. One is the close interactions that the students have with the faculty members. The faculty members are friendly and approachable inside and outside the classroom. The second thing that makes the program unique is its curriculum that links students to ground realities and helps them place their economic education in the context of real-world issues.
In the first year, our students are also required to do a field immersion stint where they spend 3 weeks, typically in a rural setting. The idea is to take some of them out of their comfort zone and to allow them to use some of the research methods that they learn in class in the field. These could include conducting interviews, focus group discussions, or simply observing and documenting the daily lives of people.
So we are trying to combine a rigorous training in economics, the technical tools of economics, the conceptual and theoretical framework, with a focus on its application in the problems of development and developing countries like India. So we very much want the policy focus to be central to when we discuss economic theories, for example. And as a result of that, we have decided to start off the curriculum with what would otherwise be thought of as an applied course. So the idea is that you get introduced to theories in the course of thinking about how they actually work or don't work in the real world.
In the second year, we offer some of the standard courses in microeconomics and macroeconomics as electives, along with a bunch of others. Our students also get to choose between a thesis track and an internship track. In the thesis track, they choose a research question and they work closely with a faculty member to produce a report at the end of a year. In the internship track, they work with an organization or in a community and try to understand the challenges that these communities are facing and how they're dealing with them.
Students who wish to study further, let's say for a PhD in economics, will also be able to do so. They will have a very strong grounding in foundational courses. For example, in microeconomic and macroeconomic theory, in econometric methods, in research methods, and in advanced courses and electives.
The M.A.Economics program is designed to provide students with a firm grounding in economics in various theoretical and pluralist schools of thought, as well as to equip them with rigorous tools in order to undertake the analysis. And all of this is done under the broad arc of nurturing critical minds and socially conscious beings.
We have students that join our Masters in Economics program that have just completed their bachelor's program, but we also have students, and these are students we really value, who have been out in the real world. They've been working, and many come from the social sector. They have been engaging in pressing development and ecological issues of our time. They're curious about the world, and they want to better understand how they can use their skills to address the issues that they have seen.
The learning environment here, it is very encouraging, even in terms of methods of teaching and assessment. It is very diverse, that as students you get to learn so much that you don't realize that you're learning, but along the way you learn skills that are required both for pursuing higher education and also to go to market.
All right, thank you very much. So I hope our short video gave you a glimpse at some of our faculty that teach in the master's program, but also a little bit about the program. Sanjeev, if we can go back to the PowerPoint presentation. The next slide, please. Thank you. So the overarching learning objectives in our MA in Economics can be broken into two main areas, both knowledge, the knowledge domain, but also skill acquisition, because we feel we both want you to have the knowledge, the foundational knowledge in economics, including economic theory, but we want you to have the skills to be able to go out and use that knowledge in a way to improve the world around us. Broadly, the programmatic goals of our MA in Economics is to develop these wide range of skills, the ability to make sense of a complex social reality, a strong aptitude in dealing with abstract numbers and statistics, a sense of the historical context of societies, an understanding of human motivation, and a feeling for both the moral and ethical underpinnings of social arrangements. Next slide, please. So one component of our program that I'd really love to share with you today is that the curriculum and the program document was developed collaboratively by the economics faculty at Azim Premji University. And when we got to the end of the process of designing this really unique master's program, we sat down and we said, my goodness, we've just designed a program that all of us wished we'd taken as master's students in economics, because this wasn't available to us. It gives you both the skills for being a very well-trained technical economist, but it also allows you to engage in the field, talk to people whose lived experiences impact the complex social reality that we're observing sort of in our data. So we're very proud of our curriculum. The last two slides for today, before we open it up for questions, give you a little bit of a sense about the course structure and also the course distribution. So it's a 72 credit program that's developed that has a number of different dimensions to it. So the first dimension to mention is our core curriculum, and this is what we consider the foundational knowledge. Thank you for going back in the slides. The core courses cover both the foundational knowledge, but also the skills necessary to be able to understand economics, but also be able to interact with non-economists that are also addressing and trying to understand pressing social issues of our day. So we have a sociology of development class. We also have an ecology class. These are rather unusual to see in core curriculum in an economics program, but we've put them there in our core curriculum because we really value economists having this knowledge and also this ability to interdisciplinarily be able to communicate, relate, and collaborate with people outside of economics. We have a field practice program, which gets students out of the classroom. It's part of what we consider research methods that all economists should have. So it's definitely focusing more on qualitative skill building, but it comes after a semester where you have looked at research methods and you've developed your foundational skills to do both quantitative and qualitative skills, and then you go out in the field to explore an area of interest. One of the parts of our credit structure that we get a lot of questions about, so let me just try to explain it briefly, and you can ask follow-up questions in the Q&A session, has to do with students get to choose whether they want to do a master's thesis track or what we call a master's internship. So a master's thesis track is where you do self-directed independent research along with 2 faculty mentors. A master's internship track is where you decide that you don't want to do self-directed research. What you really want to get is experience out in the field working with development organizations or NGOs that are trying to address a topic of interest that you have, where you can see how you can, as an economist, both develop your skill sets, but also just observe and see how you might be able to be an economist in this in the development sector later on. The last 2 components of the credit structure that usually require a little bit of explanation has to do with a course that we call Communicating Economics. We were very happy to build this into our curriculum because one of the things that we see with economists is that they aren't able to communicate effectively with non-economists because we tend to go in with our technical skills and our language that's very specialized, and it's often difficult to even have a conversation over a topic of interest that people outside of economics also are interested in engaging with. So Communicating Economics is looking both at pedagogy, but also how you might be able to communicate complex economic ideas to a non-economist audience. And so it's one of the courses we're very proud about. That's also very unique to our program. Lastly, I want to mention in our credit structure, we have a few credits that are dedicated to what we call creative expressions. These are courses that we are hoping are playful, they're multimodal, they're very tactile, so it might be theater, it might be music, it might be dance, but they also try to get students out of thinking about economics or even the development sector, but engaging in developing a skill or an artistic talent or just a different side of yourself. And we feel these courses are very important in master's programs so that students can also be grounded and developing multiple skills at the same time. Can you go to the last slide, please? So the last slide just gives you an indication of the course distribution. So our 72 credits is spread out over 4 semesters. S1, S2, S3, and S4 just refer to the semester. So so you can see which courses are offered in which semester, and you can also see where field practice occurs in the winter break between semester 1 and semester 2 after your quantitative and qualitative research methods course, but before you do your econometrics of impact evaluation in the 2nd semester. And then the 2nd year, so the 1st year is really your developing your foundational skills in economics and getting introduced to some non-disciplinary courses that we feel are very important given people's interest in development and policy. The 2nd year, we open up the curriculum where you're able to take elective courses, and we offer a number of very interesting elective courses and are continuing to offer more as we grow. And these are where you get to deepen and develop both your analytical skills, but also your exposure to different topics. So there might be economics of education course, a public health course. There also might be advanced quantitative courses for those of you that are thinking about going on for a PhD. So applied multivariate. Statistics, for example, is one of our electives. So we offer a range of electives, and those are dependent upon faculty expertise and availability. All right. I'd really like now to, I've come to the end of my presentation, and I would like to open it up for questions. So I'm being shown the questions in the chat, and I will, do I just speak out the questions and then answer them? Is that how it works?
I could read out the questions and then
Okay.
you could answer them. Okay. So
Thank you,
first,
Sanjeev.
yeah. I come from an engineering background and I wish to pursue economics. Am I eligible?
Yes, you are potentially eligible. We have accepted students with engineering backgrounds. It really depends on whether or not you can clear the entrance examination and the interview. If you can clear those, you are eligible, and we are happy to have you in our program. We do see a number of people that have gone down more of an engineering track that are interested in our program. They want to do a career change or also think about using sort of some of their technical skills in changing the field that they're in. So we welcome you to apply.
Thank you. Could you explain the entrance test structure? How do I prepare?
So the best way to prepare is to find the information sheet that is on our website. It can be a little tricky to find this information, so you have to go to the M.A. in Economics section. So we're, and there you look at the entrance requirements, and there is a link to the entrance test information page, which just gives you it gives you sort of an overview of the test. Briefly, I can explain that we break it into 4 categories, which are multiple choice. So we have microeconomics, we have macroeconomics, we have quantitative, and then we have Indian economy and political economy section. And there's normally around 40 or 50 multiple choice questions. And then we ask 2 or 3 short essay questions that are really trying to look at and assess your analytical capabilities in economics. So for the engineering question that came up, can I be an engineer, trained as an engineer, but get into this program? You can, but you need to know some economics to clear the entrance test. So you might need to read some of the recommended sources in our information packet on the entrance test. So become familiar with with these sources, and then you would have the foundational knowledge to apply and get in.
Thank you, Kate. The third question, is the internship track a part of field practice or is it separate? Will the university help us in finding internship opportunities, or the students have to find them for themselves?
So the internship track is separate to the field practice. So all students do a field practice because we think it is very important that all students get exposed to being out in the field and interacting and dealing with people. In terms of the internship, once you choose whether you do the internship track or the thesis track, that's where the split comes. In terms of whether the university helps find internship opportunities, yes. We actually take the reverse view. We don't want you working with any ad hoc organization. We actually have a list of organizations and collaborations that we have already developed and spent some time developing. And we want you to work in those organizations. But if you have, if there isn't a clear match between your interests and the organizations that we're currently working with, we will explore additional options for you. And we work in close collaboration with our students. We're a small program, and we really do, we want to make sure that you're happy, but that also you're getting pushed and that you're developing your skills.
Right. Now, small repetition, but a little more specific from the first question. I'm an engineer. I've been working in IT sector for the past 2.5 years. What fundamental knowledge and skills are required from my side for me to qualify for this program?
Okay, so I'll answer that again. You need to have introductory economic knowledge in both macroeconomics, but also microeconomics, and know something about the Indian economy or political economy. So for most people who don't have an economics background, this would involve reading some books, reading some textbooks, looking at our practice papers that are also shared online, to just get a sense of whether or not you think that you have the foundational knowledge in economics, or can read up to get that to be able to clear the test. My sense is if you're an engineer, you probably have the quantitative skills, though it is it's also useful to look at the quantitative skills that we will be assessing. So most economists have taken in a bachelor's program have taken a statistics or even an applied statistics course. Some students have even taken econometrics, and so it's likely that you'll be asked questions in those domains too.
Okay. So I'm going to skip a few questions and get back to them, because there's a question which could be aligned with what you just mentioned about math. There's a question that I worked for 17 years and I have an MBA, but I haven't touched math for years now. How important is math for the entrance exam and the course, and what kind of mathematical skills does one need?
Okay, well, this is a really... Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead. No, I said what kind and what level.
Okay, so this is a really good question. We get a lot of questions about math. And do you have to be good at math? Do you have to even like math to be an economist? Now, there are many different ways in which you can be an economist. The discipline of economics does use math. So one does need some level of capability, some exposure to math. But if you haven't had that, but are just curious and able to learn what you need in terms of both clearing the entrance test, but also once you're in our program, then I think it's, then you get to sort of decide how you want to use math as an economist. Now, you do need to be able to so in a master's program in economics, you do need to be able to do applied statistics, what we call econometrics. This is one of the quantitative skills that is really required in economics, less so in the past, but presently in terms of the profession, it is important. But even if you have never done an econometrics class, you can learn it. So we teach it, we do a number, we know that we have students from a wide variety of backgrounds, also with a wide variety of exposures to quantitative methods. And so the way that we've built the curriculum is that we introduce it quickly. We've also found that entering with theory for students that are a little shy or timid of math, using math and economics can be very alienating. And so we do it from the skill side. So we get you in the first semester learning a statistical program called R, which is open source software. It's a difficult program to learn. So to be able to learn it in your first semester is sort of amazing, but we do it and we've had really good success in our students skilling up, being able to use this statistical program. And then we build the statistical knowledge and abilities to be able to use this program over the course of your, mostly over the first year, but then depending upon your interests, also in electives in your second year.
Thank you, Kate. I think that answered the question quite comprehensively. Next, I think a simple question: higher education opportunities and placements.
Okay, this is a really good question. We have students who are both interested in going on and getting a PhD, some in economics, but some also outside of economics, maybe more interdisciplinary, in public policy or in sort of ecology or sustainability or development. But we also have a large proportion of students that really want to go out and start working mostly in the development sector, engaging with these pressing issues that we keep talking about. So our program is designed for both. If you are interested in pursuing a PhD, we would advise particular electives, and also because of your need to have particular courses for most PhD programs in economics, we would advise a particular sequence of courses, but we also, for students that are wanting to work in the development sector and get exposure to different areas of development, we have very interesting electives that can also help you with that.
Thanks, Kate. There's a question. What part of economics does this course focus towards? And there's another question which I think you can club with this. Given that the university is focused on social impact and changing in society, is it a very development economics oriented course? So it's overlapping questions, if you could.
Yeah. So we discussed this quite a lot when we were developing the program. Do we offer a master's in development economics, or do we offer a master's in economics? Now, we decided to offer a master's in economics. So we cover all the foundational and technical skills that you would find in a master's in economics program, but we have a focus in the development and policy areas. So as I was saying, our entry point is not economic theory. Our entry point is engaging with pressing development issues facing India today. So it's an unusual program, but we have fantastic students who are often very interested in these questions. They're interested in doing something. They're interested in understanding the real world and putting their skills as an economist to use for greater social good.
As an extension of that, I think someone's asked, could you give us some examples of students who've gone on to a direct social impact career based on the M.A.Economics program?
So our program is very young. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we lost you there for a second, and you.
Okay. Our program.
Yeah, you're back.
Our program is very young, so we are just graduating our first batch of students. So we can't actually answer that question yet, but ask us in a few months and we'll tell you where the first batch has gone. I do know that in the first batch of students that we have, about half are interested in pursuing further education, and about half are interested in going directly into the development sector.
Okay. What would be the focus of questions asked in the essay question? I assume they mean the descriptive part. And what is the interview process all about? How should one approach it?
Okay. So the essay questions are asking you.
Get my question?
Yeah. The essay questions are to assess your analytical abilities in economics. So we will ask you questions usually related to contemporary events or something that has happened over the last few years, and ask you to sort of give a justification for your answer. So here we're looking at what we call economic intuition, but also analytical abilities in economics. The other question was regarding the interview and how to prepare for the interview. So that's a difficult question to answer because there's no right or wrong answer. Our interviews are informal. We are really just trying to get a better sense of who you are and what your background and interests are, and also be able to tell you a little bit about the university and also the focus of the program and see if it's a good fit. So that's the purpose of the interview. It's not to take you off guard or ask you anything difficult. We're really just trying to get a better understanding of whether your background and interests are a good fit for the university and the program that we've designed. So I see a couple more questions in the chat, so I'll take them. One was about a course called Communicating Economics. And I gave a little bit of an overview in the presentation about it, but I can give you a couple more sentences. The Communicating Economics course provides students with an introduction to pedagogy and assessment for teaching economics in a variety of contexts. So we are trying to develop your skills to be able to communicate complex economic ideas to non-economics audiences, which we see is very valuable, especially in the development sector. And also you're often going to be out in the field working with non-economists. So we're working on that aspect in the curriculum. In terms of whether the classes will be conducted online or offline, we're currently online, but we're moving to offline. It's a moving goalpost, and we're all responding to the uncertainty of the pandemic, but we would like to be in person.
Right, thanks, Kate. Sorry, I had a bit of a network issue there for a minute. Have you been answering questions on the chat? So
yes.
There's a question on electives like game theory and behavioral economics. Did you?
No, I didn't. Let me take that one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Yes. Game theory and behavioral economics are electives in our program. We haven't offered them this year, but it's likely they'll be offered in the near future. Our elective set are dependent upon faculty expertise, but also faculty commitments teaching in our UG program, but also in other areas of the university. But we give you advance notice, and what we did for the first batch of students was actually poll the students and give them a range of electives that we could potentially offer and see where most students were interested, which electives most students were interested in taking, and we take that into account. So you can also lobby us for particular courses. A second part of that question was can you elaborate on what statistics and econometric electives are offered? And we introduce econometrics in the first research methods course, which is quantitative and qualitative research methods. But many of our students already come having taken econometrics as undergraduates. But if you haven't, it's okay. We get you up to speed quickly in the first semester. We then give you an applied econometrics course, the econometrics of impact evaluation in the second semester. So you can see how, and actually get the technical skills to see how you can use applied statistics in doing things like program impact evaluation that many NGOs are required to do for grants, etc. It's a very useful skill for economists to have in the field. So we introduce it. Then we have lastly in our electives we have a even more advanced econometric course, multivariate statistics, that we offer that is also there.
Thanks, Kate. This is a good question. If you haven't addressed it already, there are many M.A. Economics programs in the country. Why APU? What makes it unique? Is it the focus on development and policy that makes it different? Or are there other factors as well?
So this is not only a unique Masters in Economics in India, it's a unique Masters in Economics in the world. There are virtually no master's programs that expose students to the broad set of skills that we have embedded in our curriculum, both quantitative and qualitative. Having all students do field practice and get exposure to working out in the field is very unusual. We also have fantastic faculty that have this broad range of skills. We expose students to what we call a pluralistic approach to economics. So you're not just getting economics from one particular school of thought, you're exposed to several. So we think that makes for more interesting and engaging economists. Also, with the variety of skills and analytical toolkits to be able to address issues like discrimination in labor markets, which is something that many of our students come with an interest in. How can we better understand social injustices that we see in the world, and then how can we address it as economists? So one thing we can do is better measure it, and we're good at that. So I think our program really is unique in a number of different ways. I encourage you to read our program brochure, but also get in touch with us to ask us about these courses, because while we're trying to give very clear descriptions in terms of the courses, like communicating economics is about being able to communicate economics clearly to non-economics audiences, some of the courses you just might not be familiar with the terminology that we're using, and we'd be happy to explain what they are, and also share some more information about the program.
Thank you, Kate. So when you say get in touch with you, they can write to the faculty, is that what you're saying?
Yes, we'd be happy to. I'd be happy to take emails from any student who's interested in the program.
Wonderful, wonderful. So for the students or the participants here, you can find all our faculty members listed on our website. You just have to look under the tab called People, and there you would find them alphabetically in order. So it's not school-wise, so you can look. But I think under the school page, you can find the specific faculty. And their email IDs are all listed, so feel free to reach out. Now, there's a question, are there any international collaborations for research that students could be part of?
Yes, so many faculty, including myself, have research that is actually going on outside of India. Both we have connections with research institutes, but also faculty in across many continents doing very interesting work. We also, I would encourage students to look at the research institutes that are being run out of our university itself, because they offer some excellent opportunities. The Center for Sustainable Employment is doing some fantastic work on trying to understand employment and look at policy responses to the large informal sector in India. As well as understanding things like the impact of the lockdown on different vulnerable groups in the labor market. And so there's some fantastic research opportunities that students have with us.
Thank you, Kate. Given that this is a fairly India-specific program, or if that's the impression one gets, does it still give them an opportunity to go outside the country later and practice economics? Or I guess that's a valid question, given that we have an India-specific focus.
Yes. So we want students who are interested in being in India and tackling these really important development and ecological issues facing us. But we provide you with the foundational and technical skills of being an economist. So they're transferable and you can use them elsewhere, and it doesn't disadvantage you at all. In some ways, I think that the practical application with real world issues actually is a benefit, a huge benefit to being an economist.
Right. Now, is APU currently offering a PhD program in economics? Of course, the answer is no, but does it plan to offer one? Is there a plan?
Yeah, we would love to offer a PhD in economics, but we don't have one. We don't offer one right now.
Okay. What is the average class size?
Yeah, the 25 to 30 is the average size for our master's program. It varies we've only got 2 batches, so it's varied of the batches, but we've designed it to be a small program. And we don't want to have large classes because of the individual attention that faculty want to give to each student.
What is the general process, if there is any, of teaching practical and theoretical ideas of economic topics? It's a broad question. Is there a certain pedagogy you adhere to?
Yeah, so our faculty employ a number of different pedagogies for effective teaching practices, both within and then outside of the classroom. You'll be in courses which are run as flipped classrooms. You'll have team-based learning courses. You'll also have lab-based courses. There tends to be a lot of group work built into many of the courses, because we think that peer-on-peer learning has been very effective with our students, and we can do a lot of scaffolding in this. In terms of, I think potentially this question was asked a little bit more in terms of, do we start with economic theory and then look at exceptions or bring in the real world? So traditionally in economics, you would start with economic theory and then you would move to the real world. And this is where we've flipped that. We start with the real world and pressing issues that we want to understand. So the issue of informality in labor markets in India, the issue of discrimination, the issue of ecological catastrophe, no water, urbanization. So we start with these issues, and then what we do very quickly is integrate in economic theory in better trying to understand the issue, but also the potential response. So I hope that answers that particular question.
I think, yeah, it did. I would like to know if I could end up teaching after this course. Would it help me in that path?
I think this would be a fantastic course to go to if you're interested in education, because you will see economics taught in a very different way. And also the different pedagogical strategies that that faculty are using, but also the engagement with the students that faculty have. That we keep it a small program because we really want to ensure the learning success of all of our students, and we want to know all of our students, which you can't do in very large classrooms as effectively or as well. So we want to know everybody, and we want to collaboratively work with every individual student on their learning journey with us at the university, and we want to provide support structures, if necessary, to enable that learning environment. If you're interested in education, well, we have a university and also the foundation that has been set up because people care passionately about education and improving education. And so if you are interested in improving economics education in India, I strongly encourage you to come talk to us, because we would love to see you out in the world doing that.
Right, Kate, I think you hit the spot with that one. The university was born from the foundation, from early childcare education. Now we decided to get into higher education. So it's a natural progression for us. Now, can you tell me something about the faculty in general? Wow, that's going to take a while, given the awesome faculty we have.
So we have a really interesting, diverse group of faculty, just like we have really interesting and diverse student body. Our faculty come from all over the world, and we come from different schools of thought, and we use and employ different tools of analysis in the work that we do. Many of us, but not all of us, are applied as economists, but I'm a development economist. I come out of the tradition of political economy, and I also, a lot of my work is in feminist economics. but we have micro theorists, we have macro theorists we have applied econometricians, we have applied statisticians, we have faculty whose hearts and love is really in the development sector, who engage in looking at public policy initiatives and trying to improve implementation or targeting of particular social protection policies. So we have we also have faculty who love history and who love both economic history, but more importantly, history of economic thought. How have economic ideas evolved over time and changed with the changing nature of society around us, but also different economic systems. And so all of these threads, whether it's politics or history or econometrics or field practice, sort of come into both the way that we've designed the curriculum, but also the exposure to faculty with these different talents.
Thank you, Kate. Given that you mentioned that there are faculty interested in policy, and then you said also development sector, is there a possibility for the M.A.Economics students to have cross-listed electives across schools, like study something from the School of Policy and Governance or the other schools of Arts and Science and School of Development? Do you touch upon that?
Yes. So we've been a small program, and our university hasn't been operating in the same location so far. So cross-listing across schools has been logistically too difficult, but we are now in our permanent campus. And so I envision being able to offer cross-listed courses across schools with much greater ease in the future.
Thank you. Last question, it seems, for the day is, what is the Master Seminar all about?
So the Master Seminar is a place where students gather in their third semester after either working intensively on their independent research through the master's thesis track, or after they've done their internship in the summer break and they've worked intensively with an NGO in the field. And then they come back into the classroom, and it's a place where we develop what we hope are practical skill sets for both research and practice. So you work on literature reviews, effective communication, the visual display of quantitative information. So it's a very interesting collaborative course that where students meet weekly. It's run as a seminar. There's a lot of student presentations and feedback on these different skill sets that we want to develop over the seminar slot.
Right. Now, we'll take one more question. This came in a separate private chat. The creative expressions, is there some particular field that we, as a student, I have an interest, but it's not offered so far? Can I introduce it to the university and take it up as one of my subjects? What are the criteria for that?
Yeah, potentially, yes. If you have a really good idea and there's a lot of students that have the same interest, we'd be happy to try to find an instructor and offer it. Mostly it's just a timing issue. You just have to get to us soon enough so that we have enough lead time to be able to develop it. But we also give you a lot of options.
Okay. We still have some questions coming in. So I looked at the curriculum, and the advanced micro and macro courses are at best intermediate level courses. Any reason for why that is so?
So I don't think that you've actually looked at the course documents. They're not intermediate at all. Intermediate is the prerequisite to being able to take those courses. They're both advanced micro and advanced macro theory, and they're at the same level that you would find in many PhD programs. So we'd be happy to, if you're interested in also looking at the syllabus, I'd be happy to share those.
Yes, I think for such very specific program-related questions, do write in, and you could even have a discussion, be able to get a better view. Now, as far as I can see, that was the last question for the day. Is there any additional thoughts you could add, Kate? We have anyway at most 5 minutes to the end of the show. So if there's anything you'd like to speak about, or we could wrap up for the day.
I think I'd just like to summarize by saying that we have put a lot of time and effort into developing this really unique program, and we hope this is something that you're interested in. If you would like to follow up or get additional information or sort of want some of these things clarified, we'd be happy to answer your questions. And if you are a curious, self-motivated learner, we really encourage you to apply to our program. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. I'll just wrap up by giving the essential dates, the important dates. So Feb 27th is the last date to apply for the master's program. And the national entrance test will be held on March 21st. And you will receive your results about 2 weeks from then. The interviews will be going on from April end to May first week or May middle. And you'll get your final results by May end, and the actual academic session starts, say, mid-August. And this time on a brand new 80-acre campus where we have our UG students, PG students, all in one happy place. So please do apply at the earliest. And even if you are convinced you're going to apply, please do not wait to the last minute in case you have any issues while applying. You should have the time to reach out to us. For any doubts, you can write to us at pgadmissions@apu.edu.in. So that's it from my end. And Kate, thank you very much for a very enlightening and detailed session.
Thank you.
Thank you.